All right, so real quick, we got to talk about this Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse post-credit scene that almost was. I won't discuss any spoilers from the film, but I will discuss the villain and the post-credit scene that they ended up scrapping. This comes to us from Slash Film, and it says, in an interview with IndieWire, producers Phil Lord and Christopher Miller talked about their original plan for a post-credit scene. And one of the main reasons they nixed it was because it was hard to beat where we left off. Their original idea for a post-credit scene required a bit of setup for the payoff to work, and that further complicated the idea. So it's understandable why they ultimately decided against this post-credit scene. Where the film ends off, which again I won't spoil, is such an incredible cliffhanger that leaves you so excited for when Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out in March of 2024. I can't wait. With the other reason being that it required a bit more setup for this post-credit scene to be paid off, it makes sense that they scrapped it because this film came in at 2 hours and 15 minutes and already felt a little bit long. So adding more to the runtime would have ran the risk of making the film feel more bloated, which they definitely didn't want. If they did give us their original post-credit scene, it would have also required a prior scene where we see Spot, played by Jason Schwartzman, at his most pathetic. As a character, he just wants to be taken seriously and isn't much of a threat at first. What the creative team wanted to do was have a sequence where Spot is at a bar filled with Spidey villains and trying to fit in. He goes to order a drink, but he can't because no one notices him. He ultimately steals a drink, but the second he downs it, the liquid leaks out of all of his holes, much to the entertainment of the real villains who point and laugh. That's the setup. So the setup here is great. Spot is even treated by Miles Morales as a bit of a joke, and so it's easy to see how other villains would treat him as a joke as well. And he is somewhat of a pathetic villain at first. And I think that this would have been a really interesting and compelling post-credit scene, but I definitely understand why ultimately they decided not to include it. The payoff would have been a post-credit scene that sees Spot returning to the bar, now one of the most powerful and vengeful beings in the universe. This time he gets noticed when he dispatches all the supervillain bullies who laughed at him earlier. Alan Hawkins, head of character animation, called this 1-2 punch one of his favorite things they all came up with, but ultimately couldn't dedicate the time needed to pull it off. The reality is that all films have a budget and a set amount that they can spend their time and money and resources on, and this post-credit scene just ended up being a little bit outside of the realm of what they wanted to tell in their story or what they were able to do with the money and budget that they had. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse didn't need this post-credit scene, but it's really fun for us as fans to get to imagine it in our own heads. For my full review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, click here, like this video, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.